Welcome to this session about Bravas. So Bravas is a MultiOS MDM and IDP, which has been introduced for the first time on the market last year at PSU 2023. So we are first year old, and we are here to share our feedback after this year, our position, our visions. So before starting to work with Bravas as a solution, it's important, I think, to understand where we are going. So our vision is, and the reason why we started this company is past experience shown us that most MDM on the market are advanced automation framework, I would say, solution that works really well, but require advanced expertise to make it work for real. Out of the box, it does not really do anything. So, and mainly, there is a reason for that. It's tailored for enterprise level things, which by enterprise level, most of the time it means an organization with technical debt. So all those solutions on the market right now are really good at handling what is not expected. But the thing is, it only serves 55% of the worker and 1% of the organization. And that's something really important to understand. If we look, for example, at the French employment per establishment statistic, because we are based in France, what we consider as a small or medium businesses is below 250. And we see that it holds 47% of the employment and 98% of the organization, with an average number of 33 people per organization. We can say, well, that's the French market, they are small. Well, the US statistics is even worse. Like 32% of the employment for organization less than 300, which represent more than 99% of the organization. So a good part of the markets are organizations with an average size of 40 people that are absolutely not served by the current solution on the market. And that's for that exact reason that we started to create Bravas 2 years ago and publish it a year ago. It's to find a way to serve correctly small businesses in a way that fit. And the thing is, it cannot fit the same way for SMBs and other large-scale organizations. If we try to make some rough estimation, some rough characterization of what those two markets are, small organization will be around 30 people, when large organization will be about 2,500, sorry. One will have a quick decision pattern, the other one will have a slow one. Even slow is a small word for how slow they are, usually. And the expectation part is quite funny. Usually when you work with small organizations, they have a high expectation, but no budget. And when you work with large organizations, they are used to pay a lot and to have a situation at the end that is, yes, it works, but it's average. Because they are used to handle what large organizations have to do with this technical debt and this complexity that the scale is causing. Which means for a vendor, the return of investment on any sales operation for the small organization will be low, but high on a large organization. This is why most vendors on the market right now are targeting the large one. It's simpler to make a lot of money in short time. But that does not fit on the SMB market. So when we designed Bravas initially, we wanted to solve the issue for SMB market. And so for SMB market, it means that SMB market require maximum scalability, which means like you cannot have one-to-one onboarding per each customer. You cannot have a dedicated support line for each of your customers to do professional services and etc. You cannot have human action per deployment if you want to address that market. You need to be an organization that is fully scalable and automated, and your product has to be too, if you want to reach the SMB market. SMB looks for low investment with high quality. So what do we define as high quality in the situation of an MDM and an IDP? For us, it will mean that all OS on the market are supported. Why? Because it has been widely proved that giving the choice of the platform to the end user is a contributing factor of success for the organization. There is no reason why SMB will be out of this advantage. It has to be secure by design. You cannot afford as an SMB to pay additional fees to be in a secure position. The learning curve also is something important. SMB will not expect to spend so many time on the onboarding phase, on the onboarding stage to understand how the actual product is working. The operational cost has to be low also, in such a way that most organizations at the SMB level expect a set and forget solution. You do not want a situation where each year when a new OS release is published, each of your small businesses have to go back to your product to change whatever settings. Also, it's expected at the SMB level that when you spend money on something, you need to solve an issue and you need to save money on something else. And it has to be user-friendly. So, solving this problem at scale requires somehow a solution shift. And by solution shift here, I mean that we need to answer the same kind of needs, but in a different way. And when you change the way of solving a solution that has been solved for many years in a specific manner, you have to deal with disappointments. People from the existing market will not understand what you are doing and why you are doing it. And that's expected. It's sad, but that's expected. Main issue with that is, as Bravas, we are an indirect company. We cannot, as software vendor, succeed if we don't scale via the partners. A lot of the vendors on the market decided to go large, to have 1,000 employees, to access directly each region of the world, and have sales operation everywhere. This will never work in SMB. I have no idea if it will work in large-scale organization, but for sure it will not work with SMB. The market is too large, the number of people to talk with is too large. It has to be an indirect company. And that's where we are going. So for this year, I'm pleased to announce that we conclude a new agreement with MTS Pro Services, a New York City headquartered partner with global services that will help our customer in US to succeed and will bring them additional hardware and IT services around what we do at Bravas. So that's a really good thing for, for us. And that's a way for us to go. There is no other way for MDM and IDP vendor to address that market. So it has to be clearly said that even if nowadays, as a one-year-old company, we do some direct operation because we have to gain confidence in the market, we have to gain a reputation. That's only a temporary thing for us, and the goal is really to go as an indirect company. So, where we are today, understanding our vision and where we are going is something important, and why we do it is really something important. But yeah, let's have a look on what we actually do and how we do it. So, this is Bravas, the admin console of Bravas, which is here your unique access to your mobile device manager, your identity provider, your public key infrastructure also. Because when we decided to do Bravas, we decided to solve a lot of issues in the same time. And since writing an IDP and writing an MDM was not enough, we also wrote a PKI, actually. So the way we designed Bravas was with an idea that since we need to be multi-OS, because that's the way to go, we cannot expose the complexity of each OS. With macOS, iOS, Windows, Android, Linux, Chrome OS, there is 6 different platforms on the market for which you will want to do exactly the same thing, but they are different platforms, so you have to do it differently for each. Like ensuring that there is a full disk encryption, ensuring there is a device passcode. All those kind of things need to be done per platform, which is absolutely a waste of time for SMB. So what we decided to do is to have a more agnostic approach where we abstract the complexity of the different platforms using personae for the user and doing device kind for the endpoints, where we will speak about phone, tablets, and computers. And for each of them, exposing what are the usual settings that you want to eventually tweak, and some of them which are enforced by us. As an example, we enforce automatically that all endpoints are encrypted and have a passcode. We let you the choice about your passcode complexity, because depending on your industry sector, you will have some external requirement of what is considered to be a secure passcode for an offline device. So those kind of things will be then translated from whatever is your business line of conduct for endpoint management to whatever the endpoint platform will actually understand. And so, doing so, we expect to bring multi-OS capabilities to everyone easily. Also, one other thing we did is finding a way to ease and abstract all kinds of resource assignments, granting your team to work with some solution. So we have a catalog of apps, which is large, provided by a mix of what we do support as identity provider, what exists on VPP, and also what our software provider here, Electrona, provide with patch. So we have integrated patch from Electrona directly in the Bravas system, which means that when you are doing an assignment, let's say that at one point you say that the demo maker family is getting granted with Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. What does it mean is that for Microsoft, users that you assign to these resources will get created in Microsoft 365 automatically. And Microsoft 365 will be federated to your tenant, your Bravas tenant, so you can be authenticated with our services. But it also means that depending on whatever the endpoint has been deployed for the user, we are doing app deployments. So here you see that for Microsoft 365, we have the App Store capability over there, where we have the available license, and if we decide or not to install it with VPP, or what we call here direct download, which is actually Electrona patch, where, again, we decide what we install with. So here we are saying that the full Microsoft 365 suite will be installed on whatever macOS devices which has been deployed for user who has been granted the use of Microsoft 365. And the same go for iOS, of course, only with VPP here. In that way, we allow everyone to easily work with assignment. That deciding that an organization, a marketing team works with Creative Cloud is a functional assignment. Up to the MDM and to the IDP to understand What does it mean for the identity provisioning? What does it mean for the endpoint patch management? Now, let's say that we want to deploy someone to onboard a new user. Let's say we will have a new user called PSU Folks. So we create all user information, organization details. Eventually, you can also fill the personal information if you are working from home to know where you want to send the hardware. And you will have to set up the groups you want for these users. So the groups are here to define what is the user role in the organizations. And from there, a lot of things will be automated. Groups here, as well as the user, will be pushed to whatever apps are allowed for the user. So here we see that this user will be pushed on the identity part on Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. And for macOS, we'll also have Warp and PyCharm to be installed. All users and group will be maintained on the connected service provider. And the group part is the most important part. If you correctly manage your Google Workspace, your Microsoft 365, your Slack channel with groups, you just gave the user all access needed for whatever they will have to work with, their Google Drive, their private Slack channel, and everything. So, we created a user. We have a device for the user. No? Yes? We have a device for the user. So, device for the user. At one point, we all know this remote management panel in the Setup Assistant, where we are informed that homework is owned by the organization and that some restriction apply, and we are asked to enroll the device. So, as you've seen during the demonstration, when I've created the user, at no time I've set up any kind of password. There is no password in Bravas. So why? And how I will deploy this device. To enroll this device in any kind of supported devices in Bravas, I will play with what we call an activation code. So I will go on the user details in the Manage Device section and generate an activation code that I will send to the user on any kind of offline channel, like personal email account, text message, or in person if we are doing in-person onboarding. So the user set up his devices using this activation code that works only once. If you are granting the user with a Mac and an iPhone, for example, you will generate just two codes. Codes are valid for 10 days by default and can be used only once. So now that we consume that code on the endpoint, the endpoint will deploy eventually if the Wi-Fi works correctly, which may be a little bit funky. And as we see here, the device is already seen on the MDM side. So on the MDM side, we can view already the inventory information for these specific devices. All MDM usual information, as well as all secrets, such as local random admin password, which is generated for you by design, as well as a firewall recovery key as soon as it will be reported by the endpoint. So now that the endpoint has been done with the first stage, we can continue the Setup Assistant as usual. And during that stage, what's going on is that the endpoint is enrolled on our Mac or on our MDM, and the MDM is already pushing, of course, apps as we've seen, but also the authentication method needed to allow the IDP to work passwordless without passwords. We tried to find a way to make this part quicker, but we didn't. That's the Apple wait time during the creation. So, what else do we have in this platform, and what are we thinking on it to do with it? When we consider like creating an admin portal that is both valid for an MDM, an IDP, and a PKI, it was way too many things to do. So as we said, we went to business-oriented interface. And one of the things that business wants is audit. Right now, the audit is something really version 1, I would say. So we share some metrics about the wellness of your information system on it. It will improve over time regarding both devices and users about what we can or cannot do with your fleet. And I guess one of the most important metrics we have right now is this one, the user without access one. This one will give you a metrics about how many users you have in your directory service which cannot authenticate to Bravas. So, authenticating to Bravas, what does it mean? When the user arrives for the first time on the desktop, it looks like that. And on the bottom right corner next to the bin, you have the Bravas logo. And if you click on it, not the device, if you click on it, you end up being automatically please, Wi-Fi. Gated. So here you see you are already authenticated to the identity provider. Why? If we do the same thing in private mode, we will see that the first thing that has been asked and automatically answered is a certificate-based authentication, where the user identity is old and where additional information are available, such as the unique identifier of the device we are on. So the identity provider is now able to know who is connected and from where. And so in the future, we'll be able to propose also compliance conditional access, where you could access your ERP only if your Mac is up to date. If you are not on a managed Mac, what you will be proposed is a passkey authentication, or technically speaking, a web button authentication that will work with both passkey or external security token, such as a FIDO2 token like a YubiKey1. And if you have no certificate and no passkey, you will be out without any kind of interface that you can use to create a phishing campaign. There is no public exposure of your information system for anyone that is not authenticated. Just for fun, if you want, oh, and of course, I didn't click on it, but I should have something working here. As we see, the account has been created on the fly. We still have the end user license agreement to agree, and we are connected to our service who has been granted. That's the kind of setup where you end up increasing your security posture and improving user experience, which is usually something you cannot do in the same time. For one of the few times here you have both in the same time. The other solution we have for authentication is what we call authentication token, so the passkey part. So if you want to play with it, just go scan this QR code and enter the attack one. So the first one who did it win because it's a one-time token. And you will see that, yeah, you can go. You will see that with that code, you will be asked for the authentication token that you will be able to validate using your, to associate to your iCloud account, for example. And from there, if you are simply going to demomaker.bravas.tech, which is our demo instance, you will be able to authenticate and to access the Google Workspace account as easily as this. Yeah. So, right now we do support iOS assigned devices, which is devices assigned to a specific user. We do not have yet support for shared iPad, for example. We do also have support for macOS assigned devices, which means for now we do not do multi-user devices or multi-user macOS devices. So all we are focusing on with SMB is devices assigned for a specific user. And for both, we are doing native apps distribution with App Store and Electron Apache, as I said. So if we look at the endpoint we just deployed, if I find it here, we see that Microsoft has already been installed, as well as PyCharm, Warp, and etc. So it's been like, what, 5 minutes, I guess, that this device has been deployed. And all apps are getting installed as expected. The other thing we have, as you've seen, is a built-in PKI. One of the important things to understand is that every tenant in Bravas gets its own certificate authority, which means that every customer is independent and can trust it, basically. The identity provider also have some SAML and SCIM capabilities, and we are working on the OpenID Connect support, which will mean managed Apple account federation at one point. Another important thing we currently have, so dedicated tenant per customer. We do not share the SaaS. We do not merge customer. A lot of new vendor eventually do some weird thing where their world cluster and all their customers share one IPNS token. This is not acceptable, and this is not what we do. However, what we do is we made some quite a pretty cool thing on the hosting part. We have shared cloud solution, we have private cloud solution, and we have on-prem capabilities, all with a unique infrastructure as code and software that works in an automated update manner. So that even if you're on-prem, what will happen is that we distribute the update mechanism in a central point, and you don't have to do anything to maintain it. It will just auto-remediate as we do for the cloud in your on-prem system. And one of the things that means is, since we are using this exact same technology on cloud and on-prem, we should not disappear on on-prem in opposition to what other vendor may have did. And this also brings something else. We have the ability to do some kind of sovereignty respect. Because of the way we deploy the solution, it's absolutely easy for us to get in any kind of data compliance specific regulation that you may have. FedRAMP, SecNum Cloud in Europe, all those kind of things where if you have an SMB, for example, that is working for a large aircraft maker, for example, it's a really common thing. Like when you are a large organization creating aircraft, you usually work with subcontractor, and your subcontractor are subject to the same regulation as you are with you being a big company. But they are still SMB. So here we are bringing a solution that will help those SMB to fill their needs really easily. And the next things we did is the upcoming Windows support. So I guess there is a parental approval for the next part of the demonstration, but I mean, we do have some Windows endpoint that we can eventually use. And I will show you how it looks, the current experience on Windows with Bravas. Yeah. So, on Windows devices as well as on Mac devices, you have mainly two kinds of enrollment. One which is on-demand enrollment by the end user, one in the other which is automated enrollment at the deployment time. What we have for now is the user-initiated enrollment, where the user will simply have to set up his email address here. The admin will also obviously have to, at one point, generate an activation code for that specific device. That the user will consume in the built-in Windows view. And the device is getting enrolled as you would expect. And as you would expect, you can now see it in the user's device list. And as you would expect, on the endpoint, if you are going to your launching portal, you can do now certificate-based authentication for Bravas, and you are authenticated at one point without passwords, because we don't like passwords. So that's all for the sneak peek of the upcoming Windows deployment and with the Windows support that we will do. Also, one of the other things we did, since we are an IDP, one of the main issues we see with small businesses is the exposition to what we call the SSO tax. A lot of software vendors on the market are deciding that security is something that only large-scale organizations can afford, and we think it's bad. For a long time now, there is some website initiative which is like a SSO wall of shame, which is, I mean, it puts some pressure on the vendor, so that's a thing, but it absolutely does not help the SMB right now. So yeah, we started the positive initiative of this thing. So something called sso-friendly.com, where our intention is to help the SSO community to put spotlights on the ones that are working fairly with their customer and are providing SSO capabilities by design, by default, without any additional pricing. And we encourage you to contribute on that list. So, we've seen why we exist, where we are, and now let's talk a little bit about where we are going. Of course, the next step is a first-class support for Windows, because we want to help SMBs to achieve MultiOS and to just don't think about whatever devices the user wants, just do what they need and deliver some internal working capabilities for them. We will, of course, extend all the policy we have in a cross-platform manner, which means we will not expose core configuration profile, but help you to answer your business needs, your policy from the business perspective, and do the translation with it. So we will extend that part. We will work on the software update policy also. Again, here with an opinionated way, where we consider that you cannot be secure if you are not up to date. So of course there is allowance needed on some parts about the time needed to ensure compliance of your existing code base before doing the software update. So we will take this into account, but we will help you to design a software update policy that match at your organization at large scale and all platforms in the same time. Another thing we are doing is, since we want to be multi-OS, at one point we have to manage Linux. And Linux is a bit complicated. A lot of the competitors right now are doing script-based management for Linux, which may or may not work actually. So we started something else. Again, we have way too many free time. So we started a new initiative, which is a free and open source MDM client for NixOS, which is a specific Linux distribution made for desired state management. So the world distribution is based on JSON-based configuration, which clearly look like a profile. And we started to talk with the NixOS community to organize a discussion about how we could create a built-in free and open source MDM client into that specific Linux distribution, like that other MDM vendors as well as us could all take advantage of something built into the system, avoiding every of us redoing every time the same thing, script-based, prone to fail. Here, the goal is to work on something that is absolutely close to what we know on iOS, macOS, and now Windows. Another next step for us will be the radio support. A lot of the requests we have are, we want to be able to configure Wi-Fi and set our pre-shared key in all your managed devices. And you're still using pre-shared key in an organization. Maybe you should just keep your network open, it will be the same. So one of the things we want to provide, again, built in the product, is an easy way to do network-based authentication with radius capabilities. And since we already have a PKI here, we will be able, and an MDM, we will be able to configure automatically all devices to connect to your SSID using WPA Enterprise and certificate-based authentication. Again, removing the passwords. Another thing we want to go on is LDAP gateway. So that's something actually quite easy and that we will provide to ease the integration of former solutions. So you may have in your organization legacy platforms that are not easy to migrate and need some LDAP connection. So if your organization needs to connect them, we will be able to provide access to the directory service of Bravas with it, as well as a Kerberos realm for Bravas. So exposing a Kerberos realm that will allow legacy access as well as way more invisible authentication for the user. Not even needed to select the certificate in the interaction with the browser. Next step, of course, will be Android, which is on our way as Chrome OS. And finally, the line of business workstation, where we want to support workstations which are not linked to a user. So that's the global vision. Of course, it will take time, but I think it was important for us to share with everyone where we are and where we want to be. Like that, you can understand if you want to work with us over time, when we will eventually be at the point you need, and start trusting us eventually. Also, talking about trust, one of the important things we want to achieve is sustainability. Even if we are a startup, which means we do fundraising and things like that, capital raising, I mean, our goal at one point is to ensure that we are sustainable from an economical point of view without this need. A lot of current vendors right now are running year after years after capital raising. We do think that because we are going as an indirect company, we won't have that need. The whole roadmap I've shown you, that's something we can achieve at less than a 100-person company. We don't need to be a big, large company to achieve all those things in a clean way. What we need is to be a company that is focusing on doing its product and having a lot of trustable partner to deploy it. So that's clearly one of our goals here. And I think it's important to share it and to say it to help everyone to trust us on the fact that we will be here for a long time. And to finish, I would like to share some opinion and to help deal with the misunderstanding. A lot of the issue we are seeing from the past year about Bravas and the help of this deployment, especially across partners, is their expectation of what a solution should look like, which is based on their experience on the past 10 or so years in the MDM and the IDP market, which is a real experience and which I understand. But if we are doing a shift in a way we are dealing with SMB information system, we have to disappoint us sometime and to agree that, for example, when someone tells me that, oh, I want custom script, I cannot manage the fleet without custom script. Okay, maybe for a large-scale organization. For a small one, you may have some other solution. And the thing is, if you are doing custom scripts, that means you won't be able to manage easily all platforms at the same time. And you will need advanced expertise on your system, which will take time and will not be profitable at large scale for a partner perspective, because a large scale for a partner perspective means multiple organizations of 40 people, if we are talking about the S&P market. Even for the US, the average number is at 40 people per organization on the SMB market. So this custom script thing will not be scalable. And the same goes for the I want custom profile remark. Yes, I understand that you have experienced that in the past, MDM that does not support whatever kind of profile is limiting. But the thing is, if you want to manage both macOS and Windows only, are you really sure you want custom CSP on Windows? Because if you don't like the Apple documentation and the way it has been written, well, you will once you start to read the Windows one. So expecting to be custom on everything means that every organization needs an advanced expert on every platform, and we don't think it's suitable for that specific market. Also, another one which has been interesting on the past year. I like your vision, but whatever feature is missing and is critical for us. Okay, I can understand that one, but the thing is, at one point, if you don't help us, you will never see us on that feature. And that's one of the things to keep in mind when you are considering working with a startup. We have to start by somewhere. And if the partner and the customer does not help a startup, the startup will never reach the maturity stage where we are able to answer yes for most of the needs. So that's something to keep in mind when a newcomer comes on the market, us or any others, is you need to help at one point and to accept that if you deeply trust their vision, you share their vision, you share the reason why they are doing things, you need to find some balance at one point to help them. So that's all for today. We do have a specific mailing list if you are interested by the Windows feature to be notified. And if you have questions, I'm all in. Yeah, for the record.
Customization standpoint.
Wait.
Yeah, Well, hopefully recording hears me too. Your customization for things, like is your app launcher, is it brandable?
Right now it's not, but it could be. Like there is something we want, like allowing the end customer to share his company branding.
Yeah.
For the that's
exactly why.
Yeah.
And are other things like customizable? Like right now, when you just did a new PKI, it was like a 10-day expiration. Is that like a setting for your team?
That's something we can change. Like if your customer are like more.
So it's like a 2-week.
Yeah, 2 weeks or 1 month. That's something customizable. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw one yet.
I think we good. So thanks. Oh, you have.
Good job. When you created the PSU Folks user in the Bravas platform, you alluded to it and you showed from that end user side logging into Google Workspace. But where does the user create the groups for like Google Workspace or Microsoft 365? If they create those in Bravas, are those copied over to or synced over to either Google or Microsoft?
Yeah, so what we've seen here is that on the link groups, we have the Bravas groups associated to Google Workspace, the Demo family, Demo Maker family one, etc.
It's not showing.
Oh. Too many screen. Yes.
Okay.
So, again, we linked the group Bravas, for example, to Google Workspace, Demo Maker to Google Workspace, etc. What these settings mean is that every group and group member associated to that app will be deployed. So now, if we are going to the admin console of Google Workspace, still with SSO here, we will see that we have our managed users created, and we will see that we have our managed groups created and updated. So here, in the way we work, the Bravas has to be what we call the point of truth in terms of identity management. You fill Bravas with whatever change you have on your organization, and Bravas is in charge of pushing those changes to all connected services. So in one action in Bravas, you will update all federated services such as Slack, Google Workspace, Microsoft, etc. So all groups as well as users coming from Bravas to the service provider.
Nice.
Yep.
Sorry, one more question.
Yep.
And I don't know about an SMB use case for this, but is it possible to configure in the apps, like if I bring in Google Workspace and I configure a Google Workspace, could I bring in a second one for like a different Google Workspace domain? Oh.
Yes, all those apps here can be added as many times as you want, and each of them can have a different configuration. Like for example, here we have the GitLab, for example, one, where we could have the online one as well, the on-prem. Even the Google one, you can have as many Google Workspace as you want, especially if you are, well, for SMB, it's uncommon, but it could happen. Merging and acquisition, where you want to integrate everyone for the subsidiary into your larger organization, and you may still keep those two Google Workspace. You can also have this situation in SMB where an organization starts to be in multiple countries, but you don't want, for legal reason, to have the US employee accessing the same data bucket in Google Workspace, for example, as the European one, but still want to manage a unified identity somewhere. So those are the reasons why in SMB you want to do that, and that's supported.
That's nice.
I guess if there is no more question, we are done.